We will start our pregame in 3 minutes. We will start in 3 minutes. Good morning, all you pre-gamers. Welcome to the pre-game show with the chart guys. We will be looking at the market sectors. We are going to look at some futures, some crypto, and some setups that have high volume and news-related stories that could possibly lead to some day trading setups. So thank you for joining us this morning. It's a perfect time for us to kind of do our pre-market X's and O's together since we had 3 days off this weekend. So we're going to get started with ES. So ES, we got a new all-time high on Friday with the jobs reports. Futures were open, which I, again, would like to emphasize it's very important to look at futures versus SPY, just looking at SPY, the ETF, but we will look at some key levels on SPY as well, just so you can have them marked up for your chart if you only trade SPY. So we're going to zoom out now. So on the daily, if we look at this wide range from February 16th to March 4th, we have our Fib retracement, and we're right at the 1.272 extension. That is 402425, and you can see we paused in that zone on Friday and we pulled back to 4021. If you just look at this on the hourly, it gives you a great visual of what we should be watching today. This is the 8 and 21 EMA, and we have a trend trade. A trend trade means that we're holding the shorter term time frame exponential moving average. An exponential moving average means that we are weighted more to the more recent price action versus the prior price action. So we are holding that shorter term EMA, the 8 EMA, we're holding it. So we have a trend trade. So as long as we hold these EMAs, we are just going upwards, and touchbacks to those hourly EMAs may be found to be buying opportunities from the bulls. I like to watch these air pockets between price and key moving averages. This is a simple moving average, the 50 MA. Price may come back and close that gap. Definitely something we need to watch for. On shorter term time frames, we just made a higher high. So we get those little fake outs on shorter term time frame. We can zoom out and look for potential bull flags, which we have a potential bull flag. So SPY is looking great, and we have that level from Friday, 4038. Looking at SPY, the ETF, we can see that gap up, and we can really see that clear extension of these EMAs where price is just really rocking and holding it. And this little sideways action we have going on in pre-market is actually cooling off the RSI. We are in blue sky territory. RSI does not matter. So when we say RSI doesn't matter, why not? It's because I'm going to really squish this up. We have no action overhead. We have no bag holders. We have no Louis Vuitton, Chanel bag holders overhead. They're going to try to sell into these pop-ups. So price has more room to move, if you will. So that spike up, we have a 403.90 over here. That was done on very low volume, so not as important. So pre-market action, we have, let's call it 403. And then zooming in a little bit more, 403 and then 402.65. Looking at Nasdaq. Nasdaq has that hourly trend trade. We have that, we like to call it the trampoline move, where you kind of make this curved and you just bounce off those key EMAs. 13393 is the key resistance from Friday. So let's make that just an even psychological number, 13400. So 13400 may be that psychological level that we push into on Nasdaq. On ES, I wanted to call out that we have an inside bar, and the resistance on that inside bar, the high 4034 and the low 4030. So we're really tightening up here in pre-market on SPY. Looking at the Russell is not as clear as some of the other ETFs. If we go to the 2-day, you can actually see that we have a potential, it's not as clear as it could be, head and shoulder pattern. So it's definitely not as bullish as ES is. So we are looking for a lower high relative to 2368. That's 2368. But we have enough room for a higher low relative to 2092. So 2092 is our key support, and 2368.20 on RTY. Let's look at the hourly. On the hourly, we are testing that 21 EMA. So we don't have as much bullish action on RTY, but as long as these hourly EMAs are in control, then the bulls are in control. 2275 is that key hourly support. Looking at the Dow had a beautiful daily cup and handle, and we broke bull out of that on Friday's futures action, and we're breaking it now. It is confirmed. We had low volume on Friday. I wasn't quite ready to give it to the bulls, give the credit for this cup and handle confirmation. This is a very bullish pattern. So YM bulls, the Dow bulls are doing just great, and we have this beautiful extension where the other larger sectors don't. So we have the Fab Fours. We have Fab 4 ES, that's SPY, Nasdaq Technology, RTY, the Russell, and then we have YM, the Dow. The Fab 4 of the Fab 4, YM is just looking absolutely wonderful. So our key resistance on YM is the high of this move. Let's round this out off 33,300. So 33,300, and that support 33,247. Looking at our commodities, so oil keeps having all of these news spurts, so that's why you see this bangarang action without clear direction. So just be careful if you are not an experienced commodities trader. It can really chop you up. This mother bar high is up at 60.48 and the low is at 59.58. Again, 59.58 support and 60.48 resistance on this inside bar, mother bar. Let's kind of zoom out. We get that bangarang action that I like to call where we're just chopping people up when we have inside bars. We have an inside bar on the weekly with oil, that high 62.27, that low 58.85. How do I trade this? So if you wanted to trade oil, if you are somewhat experienced commodities trader, I would look to go long at 58.85, the bottom of this range, and the high of the range 62.27. I'd look to go short. I like to keep things simple for my brain because oil can be a very difficult item to trade. So I would just look for this weekly inside bar. When we get the weekly inside bar, any inside bar for that matter, and you open up the hood to look underneath, you're going to have this type of bangarang action. Looking at gold. Gold last week, we got pretty oversold on the daily. This is the weekly, and the bulls are fighting hard to negate this bear flag. We double bottom at 1677, 1673, and I for one just cannot trade from spot gold chart. That's XAU-USD. I really recommend looking at the futures price. It's going to give you a lot more direction. This looks very healthy for the bulls. 1732 is that key resistance, and 1721 is that key support. So again, 1732 resistance and 1721.60. So looking at the 4 hour, you can see we have a bull flag that's potentially working here. I wanted to call it inverse head and shoulders earlier, but this just doesn't have the depth over here. So we're just going to stick to the right side of the chart for potential direction, 4 hour potential bull flag. But again, when we zoom out, the weekly EMAs have completely controlled this chart from above. And remember, when we test EMAs from below, a downtrending EMA from below, typically it rejects, and we do have a downtrending EMA. Okay, looking at crypto, Bitcoin is looking great. We have a weekly inside bar forming. If you are a swing trader, just concern yourselves with the larger time frames. It will keep your brain clear, keep your charts clear. So the inside bar mother range on this one, the high $60,055 and the low $54,900. So as long as we're staying within this range, I would say that's healthy considering how long the bulls have been pushing. If they can keep it sideways and not turn over control of the bears, that would be a win for the bulls. So looking at the daily, we have an inside bar. So on the shorter term time frame, that resistance is 58,500, and that support, I'm going to round here, 56,500. So on Bitcoin, resistance 58,500, support 56,500. As long as we're holding these key EMAs, bulls are in control. Let's zoom in just a little bit and see if we can get any type of clarity on volume. The bulls aren't really proving it here, but we're going sideways, rejecting from the underside of these downtrending moving averages, but the bears aren't bringing the volume either. So right now we're just going to call it sideways healthy action. Looking at Ethereum had an amazing weekend, and then we started giving it back. So we got these lower lows on shorter term time frames, but on larger term time frames, the bulls may be going for potential bull flag. Sorry for all the inside bars, call outs, but it is what it is, and that's what we're working with. So on Ethereum, we have resistance. Let's go look at Nasdaq. So on Nasdaq, we have a pretty big move here. Wow. I don't know if we had news this weekend, or maybe Amazon is having news, or Apple. Let me go look at Apple. Excuse me. So Apple, no, Apple's still a laggard move. So ES is testing that 4038. Dow futures are surging after a blowout jobs report. That blowout report was from Friday, so this could be just slight overhang. I'd have to go look at individual names to see if they're popping too, but congrats, bulls. So again, 4021 is your key support on ES. And on Nasdaq, 13,311. Now let's go back and check on our crypto. So on Ethereum, 2085 is your key resistance, and 2003 is your key support. So the semiconductor, look at this chart. It is something to behold on the hourly. Your RSI is 84. We are really rocking up here. We are not in blue sky breakout. 258.59 is our next key resistance on semis. But William O'Neill really highlighted these base breakouts. So when you have these key areas holding, in this case, the weekly 21 EMA, it's not as of a rounded bottom as you'd like to see, but it's still very bullish. Semiconductors are large and in charge. So the next resistance is that all-time high, 258.59. Shorter term time frames, support 256. So I'm just watching Nasdaq. Nasdaq is still rocketing. Let's get some extensions on Nasdaq just so we can use them for the day. We have plenty of time here, so it's okay if I go back a little bit. So 13538 is our next resistance on Nasdaq. Beautiful move. I am not discounting this move, but remember, we are not in all-time high territory. So any shorter term time frames that get extended on NQ, it could become an issue. We're just now crossing overbought. We're right there at 69 on the hourly with Nasdaq. Going back, looking at XLF with a beautiful move. Our all-time high on XLF, 35.29. So 35.29 is that resistance. We're getting through this 34.47 resistance in pre-market. We may get a lower high relative to 35.29 prior to breaking that all-time high. So what would that look like? A possible spike up and then falling just short of this 35.29. When we have levels that we can see from Mars, I call them Mars levels. 35.29 is a Mars level. Anyone can see it. You don't need a computer or a fancy algo. Anyone can see it. The bears may pile in that area, so just be careful if you are trading GS or WFC or Bank of America. 35.29 could come into play. With the larger sector, these tides can float all boats and they can also bring down all boats. So if XLF gets stopped there, it's something for you to be aware of. Looking at Facebook, Facebook had that leak. The leak that was leaked this weekend, it was actually from 2020, but it was quite a large leak. I kind of question the data, 533 million. That's a lot of people, but so we are down in pre-market. So Facebook is a larger issue within XLC, the communications sector. It is not the largest holding in QQQ, something to just keep in the back of your mind. 304.67 is that all-time high. So we do have a key resistance there. So let's kind of zoom in on the shorter term time frame. 335 is a resistance level, and I would disregard this. This happened on very low volume. 304.67 is that key resistance after $300 on Facebook, and the bears may be looking at this name as a name to short. That was some pretty bad news. GameStop had an offering. I don't know the exact particulars. It's posted. If you're a ChartGuys members, you can go look in the news channel and our Reddit stocks channel, and you'll see those that key announcement: $170 key resistance, and then 171 support, 159.57, and then 158.02. If your broker does not have shares to short and you're looking to short this 171, which I would say is a totally logical trade setup, when the market opens, I would not be looking to options to trade. The premium is going to be sky high unless you are a very experienced option seller where you can collect premium, where you're selling to open. Otherwise, I would not be buying just naked puts. Well, they're not technically naked puts unless you're Anyway, I would not be buying directional puts on GameStop with high premium. So just be aware of that. 159.57 is your key support, and 170.98, we're going to round that to 171 is your key resistance. And then NNOX, this is a very high volume name. This had the highest volume name when I did our pre-market scan about 45 minutes ago. It had about 1.5 million shares traded in pre-market, and the normal volume on this is 1.24 million. So we've already turned over an average day's volume in pre-market. They cleared the 510 FDA clearance. However, there was one little sentence in their announcement that had me concerned, saying they won't be able to deliver their equipment fully until 2024. But I'm very interested in this name from a fundamental perspective. 64.60 is your key support, 61.60 resistance, 72.28, 72.70. This name has really large spreads and can move very quickly. I would not trade this name if you're not an experienced scalper. Please be very careful with this issue. Okay, then PLTR, they had some positive news, and we were discussing this name in the room this weekend. Actually, let me kind of go to that today. We are having a lot of Adam and Eve setups. This isn't the clearest Adam and Eve setup. What's an Adam and Eve setup? That's where you have that V-shaped recovery and then a rounded bottom of bulls buying the dip. PLTR, this is kind of a little bit more bear flaggy actually than I would like for an Adam and Eve bullish reversal pattern, but it is something to watch. If you don't want to just get into the fancy patterns, we do have a double bottom. So your next resistance on PLTR is $24, and bears love to pounce on this name. So yes, they had wonderful news of a big contract, but the bears will still be eyeing this name. 24.30 will be your next resistance, 23.46 support, and 23.40. One other name I do want to just throw out there. NIO did not have news. However, they did have a much clearer Adam and Eve pattern. So you're looking at your charts. Actually, this isn't as rounded bottom as I would like either, but we do have a nice W bottom. 46.29 is your key resistance. I just noticed that the very high volume pre-market on this name, so I wanted to throw it out there that that is resistance. And finally, Tesla. Tesla has pre-market news. It's a delivery news name. So 718, let's just round the 717.85. 718 is that key resistance. Mars level, you can see it from Mars. It is a key level that the bears will be looking to pounce. So just watch that name. And Tesla has a bad habit of overshooting by 50 cents, 75 cents, and then pulling back. So just be careful. We pointed out this 50 MA making a frown overhead. We have downtrending EMAs or moving averages overhead, something to be aware of when we go to test them for the first time. Pre-market levels, 718 is that level. So 716.70 is the first level, then 718, 707.32, and then 704.13. Tesla has decent pre-market volume on that news, so just something to be aware of. So I have a little bit of extra time. We will be wrapping it up in the next 5 minutes or so. Do we have any questions, any specific questions that you may have? Please let me know and I'll try to get to them as fast as possible. Let's go check in with our markets. Nasdaq. 15-minute RSI is up at 75. We are not in blue sky breakout, so just know that. And how would you short this? We have this mega extension from the EMAs. I would wait for a 2-minute lower high, and then you have a key level to short. So when we get this extension away from the key moving averages, it can be a nice scalp opportunity. Just flip it short, and I would be looking short right here for a scalp on Nasdaq, or even RTY that we've noted is much weaker than the other names. So I am using the 8 and 21 EMA. I like to use the Fibonacci math series as my moving averages, exponential moving averages, because the algos like to use them. So what are the Fibonacci sequence? So we have, I'm just going to show what I use. 8, there's the 13, I don't use the 13, then 21, and then you just keep adding these numbers together, and that's the Fibonacci math series. So I use the 8 and 21. I have found great success with that in day trading and swing trading. So the green EMA, exponential moving average on my chart, is the 8 EMA, and the red is the 21 EMA. So I use the 21 EMA because we have not only the Fibonacci math series, but also we have approximately 21 days in the average trading month, and it becomes the mean. So when I'm looking at a daily chart, I am looking at a mean reversion, the red EMA, 21 EMA. You're going to see that price always reverts back to the mean at some point. We don't always have a timetable as to when it will revert, but that's why I like the 21 EMA. And I like the 50 simple moving average because, again, that's a frequent algo level. And then the purple is a 200 MA. I have not found as much success with the 100 MA, but any moving average you put on your chart that you're comfortable with and you back test it, I don't care. I've said this last Friday, if it's the 5.278 EMA, whatever it may be, use it consistently and you will find great results as long as you consistently use those exponential moving averages. So I'm just going to look around and make sure I don't have any other questions. Let's go look at ES. So on ES, are we pulling back yet? We're not pulling back yet, but RSI, don't care about RSI because we are in blue sky breakout, and that just may be enough tailwind to get NQ continued pushing because ES is in blue sky territory even though Nasdaq is not. So from my vantage point, YM, Dow is the strongest, then ES, then Nasdaq, then RTY. So I don't know what daily setup you're referring to for short positions. If you're not experienced If you're not an experienced shorter, then we had actually a member that recommended flipping the chart upside down. He's a wonderful bear. He likes to short a lot. So that can be an option. So another option is these ETFs. They have SQQ, TQQ. These are 3 times ETFs, so be careful. And with RTY, it's TNA is the bull ETF, TZA is a 3 times ETF. So basically, if you wanted to short IWM, you could go TZA and go long. So what would daily consolidation look like? We have just a couple minutes left. So I'm going to go back to SPY. I know so many people are comfortable with SPY. So I like to watch these EMAs. So daily consolidation, we have plenty of room for higher lows. So just barring any news, if we'd have really bad news come in, of course we can make a lower low, but we have plenty of room for higher lows relative to 393.02 on SPY. So on any pullback, we are looking for higher lows. The shallowness or how deep this pullback is will dictate will we get a lower high or a potential for a higher high. I personally, with these extensions, I'm looking for bull flags. So we will see if we'll get EQs or bull flags on these pullbacks. So if you are a newer trader, I would use these hourly EMAs as my guide. If you are long SPY right now, for example, I would stay long SPY as long as we have candle closes above the 8 and 21 EMA, or if you're using the 12 and 26 EMA, whatever it is that you use, as long as we have candle closes above, I would stay in long. The minute we have a candle close below EMAs, I would then back away and wait for an hourly trend change if you can only trade bull or that's how you're comfortable. If you are short, you can zoom into the 15-minute time frame, which is one of the things that we love to teach at TCG. So if we were to spike up, make a higher low, make a lower high, and then roll over, then we know our hourly higher high is set, and then you could scalp that to the short side. All right, that's it. Let me make sure there's no other key updates. There's that Nasdaq short working. Again, I'd just be careful with that short because ES may lift it. Maybe a back test of these EMAs could be the area where we pivot back to the upside. Thank you for joining us for the pregame show. I'm trying to get my rhythm. This was our second show. Thank you for bearing with me. I appreciate y'all joining us, and best of luck trading today. And use stop loss.